the news of YouGov's latest poll on joining the European Union or continuing with Brexit, do watch to the end of the video.
Is Brexit safe in my hands? Well, David Frost, Bill Cash, John Wedgwood, Mark Francois, I could go on. Most of the people who fought most vociferously for Brexit are supporting me, have faith in me, and I hope that gives the membership of this party confidence that I believe in this project. I want it to continue. I want it to be the success that it is not yet. And I'll hold Keir Starmer to account relentlessly if he tries to water it down.
Keir Starmer has gone over to Brussels to try and make Brexit work, he says.
Pleasure to be here today for these sets of meetings that we have this afternoon. I firmly believe that the British public wants to return to pragmatic, sensible leadership when it comes to dealing with our closest neighbours, to make Brexit work and to deliver in their interests, to find ways to boost economic growth, strengthen our security and tackle shared challenges like irregular migration and climate change.
Of course, we know that you can only make Brexit work by getting rid of Brexit. But sadly, there's many Brexiteers out there who are ideologically opposed to anything to do with the European Union. And of course, a key player in that is our favourite Mark Francois, who is out today on GB News because the Conservative Party conference is taking place. I will play you the clip in a while. When we were in the European Union, Britain was working. And okay, nothing's perfect, but it was working pretty well. Our economy was doing well. We were achieving great heights. The pound was strong until that vote for Brexit. So if Keir Starmer was honest, he'd go back to what he said a few years ago.
We welcome migrants. We don't scapegoat them. Low wages, poor housing, poor public services are not the fault of migrants and people who've come here. They're political failure. Political failure. So we have to make the case for the benefits of migration, the benefits of free movement. I want people in this country to be able to go and work abroad in Europe. And I want people in Europe to be able to come and continue to work here. I want families to be able to live together, whether that's in Europe or here. And I want people in this country, in the United Kingdom, to be able to go and study in Europe, just as they can now, and people in Europe to be able to come and study here. We have to make the case for freedom of movement, and we have to make it strongly.
The matter is that when we were a partner in the European Union, we decided to share the resources and share the decisions around those resources and commodities. We had energy security, we had food security, and we had investment because we were an attractive country, being English speaking, for many foreign investors. All of that has dried up since Brexit. So if Keir Starmer was being honest, he would admit that to make Britain work, we have to get rid of Brexit. And those of us on the Remain side, on the Rejoin side, we recognise that we need to get rid of Brexit, and everything that Keir Starmer says we're looking at through that microscope of where is the commitment to get rid of Brexit. On the other side, the Brexiteers' side, they're looking at it to try and protect their beloved Brexit. And of course, Mark Francois is very much one of those ideologues who is committed to Brexit, whatever it does. Brexit comes first before the country, which is quite bizarre.
Is in Brussels today trying to perform a reset with the European Union. What did you make of it?
I'm very wary of this. I've always said that Starmer remains a Remainer. I sat in Parliament week after week for over 2 years and watched Starmer conspire with people all around the House to try and keep us in the EU at almost any cost. So he now goes over there to talk about a reset. I'm worried that that might go beyond the mandate that the British people gave us to leave the European Union in 2016. Remember, Starmer was the one who called night after night for a second referendum. So I think we're right to be a bit cautious about this.
Are you saying you don't believe the Prime Minister when he says that he believes that we should be out of the single market, out of the customs union, but have a closer relationship with Europe outside of its institutions?
One of the things I learned from bitter experience is on anything to do with the European Union, you always have to read the small print, be it the Lisbon Treaty or the Trading Cooperation Agreement or the Withdrawal Agreement or whatever. So if he's talking about a reset, I want to see what that says in writing and what legally it actually means. So we haven't seen that yet, but I think we should remain cautious.
What do you think the optics are of Keir Starmer being in Brussels today, having a very friendly press conference with Ursula von der Leyen, as we've just seen? How do you think that is going to play?
Well, it's not unusual for a British Prime Minister to go to Brussels. It's not unusual for them to have high-level meetings. Nothing on one level unusual about that. The reason for my caution is based on what I saw with my own eyes in the House of Commons week after week for a couple of years. Here's a man who desperately wanted to have a second referendum because he didn't like the result of the first one. And I'm worried that he is the person who's now talking about a reset with the European Union.
New polling has come out from YouGov, which hasn't had much publicity. I found it on What EU Thinks. It was done early in September, I think sort of second week in September, the field work. And it shows that the vote for Brexit is now at 30%. 19% either wouldn't vote or didn't know. That's a mixture of the two. And 48% would vote to rejoin. And once you withdraw those don't know, wouldn't vote people, that brings you up to 62% for rejoin and merely 38% for Brexit. So the gap is widening, and that seems to be a continued pattern as time goes on. And I'm sure that once the border difficulties become more apparent to people, that is only going to increase. And there would be another increase for Rejoin if we had a campaign, a strong campaign from the Labour government, ideally, promoting why rejoining is the only viable way to get Britain working again. Brexit made us a rule taker anyway. We don't have any control over much. So getting rid of the trade barriers is a good thing. But all that Brexit does is shows you that you made a mistake with Brexit and you have to go back to the EU because, as Douglas Alexander, the Trade Minister, pointed out a couple of weeks ago at a Labour conference, the Brexit trade policies, ideas are not viable. They are just idealistic. They don't work because we are reliant on the continent next to it, part of the European continent, and we rely on Europe for commodities, electricity, energy, food. You know, Rotterdam, a major port, most goods come to us via Rotterdam, even from the rest of the world, and we just have failed to recognise this. The free ports that were supposedly an absolute Brexit bonus have failed. They're not working. They're not getting investment. The only people super cheerleading Brexit benefits are super yacht owners who are able to moor their boats in Southampton and not pay VAT, and then sail back and forth over to Europe and enjoy their waters and climate in the Mediterranean, and use us as a bolt hole. Is this the Brexit that people wanted? To be an offshore offshore tax haven of the EU. Absolutely, the only way out of this is to accept that we need to get rid of Brexit, and the quicker the better, particularly as the world is spiralling more out of control into war. Europe needs to be united to defeat Vladimir Putin, and we need to do this quickly.
Brexit, in a point of fact. I mean, you know, Mark may decry this, and I
nothing
believe
to do with Brexit.
Mark may decry this, and well, it actually has. It's got a lot to do with Brexit.
How?
Well, because since 2016, your problem really, Mark, is not that you have to be a racist or an anti-Semite to vote for Brexit. It's just that every racist and anti-Semite in the country did.
I think that's a slur on 17.4 million people.
It's not.
And I think you should apologise on national television. I think that's an outrageous thing to say.
Oh, well, you seem to find a lot of things outrageous, though, don't you?
But Will, is it fair to say that?
Are you saying that 17.4 million people are racist and bigots because they voted to leave the European Union?
No, that's not what I said.
That's pretty close to what you said.
What did you say?
It's not remotely close to what I said.
So what exactly are you saying?
You seem to be a little exercised.
Well, because I'm offended.
Well...
Well, we'll say it again so we can
The politics of offence.
All right, well, look, let me move...
What I said was that every racist and anti-Semite in the country pretty much probably voted for Brexit. That's all.
And
that
how
doesn't
do you know
mean
that in a secret ballot?
I don't know
How
it.
do you possibly know that?
I suspect it. And
I think you should apologise.
To who?
To 17.4
To racists and
million
anti-Semites.
people. Because you basically tried to slur anybody who voted Leave as a bigot, and I think you should apologise.
No, I haven't. I said that's the problem.
Listen, Mark, what he said is everyone who is a racist voted Leave.
How could he know that?
Well, that of course is up for discussion.
It's a secret ballot. How can he know?
You know, for all the reasons I've adduced already, which is that the problem for nationalists generally is that they fall into the hands of what we call ethnic nationalists.
All right, you mentioned Dominic Raab earlier, and on that we haven't got time to actually play the clip. Hang on. Let me bring in the two ladies. Hang on. Grace, there is a point that Dominic Raab said that there will be a day of reckoning if Brexit doesn't happen. And there would be a day of reckoning, the implication is, if it went to a second referendum.